Hello and good Wednesday night to you. I'm Hugh Keeton here live in the WLOX Digital Desk inside the WLOX newsroom, and we thank you for joining us here as we're going to update some developing stories affecting you across South Mississippi. First, let's take a look at our current weather conditions right now in Biloxi. It is 86 degrees. The humidity was less today, so even though the temperatures creeped up, it was actually felt a little cooler than it actually the temperatures were out there, if that makes any sense. But right now still warm, as you see there, 86 degrees right now. Looking ahead to your forecast over the next several days, it is going to be hot. You see the temperatures with the sun out, 94 tomorrow, 95 on Friday, and then for your weekend it's going to be hot once again, 94. So just be ready for the heat as you would expect in mid-June. That's just sort of the way it is right now in South Mississippi. Now, unfortunately, another story that we've been following today is the death of University of Southern Mississippi football player MJ Daniels, who played his high school ball at George County in Lucedale, and unfortunately he was found overnight dead as a result of gunshot wound. And bringing in right now to talk more about this is WLOX sports anchor Blake Brannon. Blake, good to see you tonight, but this is just a really sad situation. Everyone in Hattiesburg, where MJ Daniels was currently playing football, to back home in George County, are reacting tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just really a heartbreaking and just a truly just very sad story. And like you said, just MJ making an impact both in, of course, in his hometown of Lucedale and also in Hattiesburg. That also extends out to Oxford, where he played his first couple of years of college ball, played at Ole Miss for 2 seasons before transferring over to Southern Miss just this last year. Just 1 season under his belt at Southern Miss, and really showed a lot of promise there in the Sun Belt and there up at the Rock in Hattiesburg. So, you know, going into spring ball and stuff this year, that spring just wrapped up not too long ago. They were getting ready for summer workouts, and all the coaches had nothing but high praise for just how he grew, not only as a person, but, you know, as a player as well, you know, coming into his next year. And like we said, just truly a just heartbreaking and sad story coming out of Hattiesburg today.
Yeah, and we're seeing some video right now. This is, like you talked about, MJ Daniels showing improvements in spring practice. The video there you see is of him in spring, and here he is in high school at playing quarterback. He really played all kinds of positions there. I saw him play several times in George County. Here you see him making the long throws, but he was a dynamic runner, an extremely highly rated and highly recruited player out of high school.
Yeah, 4-star recruit coming out of high school, and like you said, it played a number of positions, played offense, defense, special teams. I believe there was a game back in 2020 where he scored 4 different touchdowns 4 different ways. So really just an incredible athlete on the field. But, you know, I got the chance to sit down and talk with his head coach, James Ray, up at George County. And while he was a dazzling player off the field, he spoke a little bit on his off the field character as well. Okay,
and let's hear from the George County head football coach right now, and hear what he had to say about him. And you mentioned the coach certainly heartbroken over this news tonight.
Well, he was a great guy. He always had a smile on his face. I can be getting on to him in practice. You know, he's not doing something right, and by the end of our conversation, he had me smiling and laughing, and I felt like everything was going to be all right from that point. He had that gift just to make people feel at ease. So this is a devastating loss, not because he's a football player, because he's a person, the person he was, and what he meant to our community.
And so you heard in the coach's voice there his concern and really just his sadness there. You made the trip there to Lucedale today, and you spoke with him. The demeanor was obvious there. It's a difficult situation.
Yeah, and you know, when I talked to him this morning, you know, just to make sure he was okay to talk, you know, because I know that this is all very fresh, you know, not even really 24 hours, you know, after the fact. But just very, very concerned, very just heartbroken is, I know it's a word we keep coming back to, but it's really the only way that we could describe what they were truly feeling, because it's just so sudden and out of the blue.
Right, but also he was remembering the good times and really activities that they would share together off the field.
Yeah. So speaking with him today, they of course talked about just how dynamic of a player he was on the field, but just really who he was off the field as well. And something that I've seen across all of the reporting today is just how much of MJ always had a smile on his face and would make anyone having a bad day have a much better day. But for him and Coach James Ray, they did even after high school still remained in contact, still remained very close, and they would love to go fishing together, and that was their big bonding moment. And Coach Ray spoke to me about that as well.
We would go fishing, and this was after he graduated from high school, and he'd come home from college or whatever, and either I would hit him up or he'd hit me up and say, "Hey, Coach, let's go fishing," and he'd take me out to his best spots. We never caught any fish, so I don't know if he was playing a joke on me or not, but just it wasn't always about football with him. He had other interests, he had other joys of life.
And Coach Ray, who coached MJ Daniels in high school, he said it wasn't always all about football. He had many other aspects of life, and that's good to see, and certainly remembering him in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, football is football, but your life is your life, and that's how it's going to be. And at the end of the day, these kids' lives are the most important part of all of this.
And we're also getting some reactions tonight. We talked about MJ Daniels playing football for the University of Southern Mississippi, and this was his college coach, Will Hall, tweeting this earlier today. Coach Hall at USM says, "We're deeply saddened by the loss of MJ Daniels. His smile was infectious and lit up the room. Please keep MJ's loved ones and our Southern Miss family in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time." And that statement there from Southern Miss head coach Will Hall. As far as I know, Will Hall hasn't done a formal interview publicly yet, has he?
Right, not yet. But even going back to the spring, Will Hall was one of MJ Daniels' biggest fans. Just talking about how much he's grown as a player, how much he's grown as a person off the field as well, and just getting a better understanding of the defense. And it's just again just a terrible and sad situation.
Now, MJ Daniels coming out of high school, we both or I saw him. I don't think you were here yet, like when he was in high school.
Yeah.
But seeing him play in high school at George County, he was a dynamic player, and he liked the spotlight. He liked being around that. And in the recruiting process, he especially liked that, as he originally committed to play for Mississippi State and then made a signing day flip, and he chose actually to start out his college career at Ole Miss. And Ole Miss sending out a tweet today as well, remembering MJ Daniels. This is where he started his college career, and this tweet from Ole Miss football says, "Our hearts are broken over the sudden passing of MJ Daniels. Please keep the Daniels family in your thoughts and prayers during this time." And he played at Ole Miss for the first 2 years, and then last year he moved on to Southern Mississippi and was, as you talked about, Blake, ready to make a breakout season ahead, but unfortunately he's not going to have that opportunity. This is tragic news, as we learned first thing this morning, that he had died from a gunshot wound in Hattiesburg. But we are going to get the opportunity. The community in Lucedale will be remembering him over the next few days.
Yeah, over on Friday, this upcoming Friday at the George County Football Stadium, they're going to hold a balloon release in his memory, just kind of as a celebration of life, really, just celebration of life and remembrance for MJ. So that is, I believe, starting at 6 o'clock over there up in Lucedale at the football stadium.
Yeah, that's right. George County Football sharing this post on Facebook, and they say that they'll have this memorial balloon release coming up on Friday night at 6 o'clock at the football stadium. So that will be an emotional time, certainly there, but a chance for everyone in the community to remember him and the positive impact that he had on the George County community. And you're talking about a guy who brings spotlight into your small town of Lucedale.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not the first major athlete to come out of Lucedale and come out of George County. We've seen a lot of kids coming out of that football program, a lot of super talented athletes, and each one just as special as the last. But just when these moments happen, it really kind of galvanizes a community and gets them to rally together and really just kind of come together as one to not only grieve but also to celebrate that life and remember that life for all the good that it brought.
Okay, Blake, and unfortunately we're talking about this tonight. Usually we're talking about celebrations of great moments on the athletic fields, but it is tragedy and that we're having to talk about, unfortunately, but thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Blake Brannon, WLOX Sports Anchor, joining us here in the WLOX Digital Desk. Now, as far as the investigation goes into the death of MJ Daniels, reporter Delaney Dukes looks closer at the events that unfolded leading to MJ Daniels' death, and this is Delaney Dukes reporting from Hattiesburg, and she has this report, and you'll see video there of the crime scene that took place last night in Hattiesburg.
A devastating scene Tuesday night as flashing emergency lights filled up the Ivy Road housing complex. Hattiesburg police officers found Marcus Daniels Jr. unresponsive in a car. The Forest County coroner tells us Daniels was shot. He died on the scene and his body was sent off for an autopsy. While HPD has not released additional details about the investigation, Chief Hardy Sims did ask neighbors for tips in a statement that reads, "We are asking the community for their help and to come forward with any information pertaining to this tragic incident and the untimely death of Marcus Daniels." WDAM-7 reached out to HPD to ask if any suspects have been identified or detained, and if there was any threat to the general public. A spokesperson for the police department declined to answer those questions during the ongoing investigation that has a lot of people shaken up.
I've never been at a crime scene that close before.
This concerned grandmother asked to not be identified on camera out of concern for her safety. She tells us she and her granddaughter were inside playing music and didn't hear the gunfire, but later learned what happened from police.
I said, what is going on? Of course, they don't talk much, so different one was saying a football player got shot in his car.
As Daniel's family, teammates, and friends wait to learn more from the results of the investigation, people at the apartment complex say it's been an emotional 24 hours.
My granddaughter is very upset over the fact that someone got killed sitting in your car.
So that was Delaney Daniels, or rather Delaney Dukes, reporting from Hattiesburg there on the investigation into the death of Southern Miss football player MJ Daniels. And no suspects have been arrested as of this time, as far as we know, in that shooting death. And details as far as the police investigation goes have been limited, but we will continue to update you on that investigation as we learn more. Other stories we're following today on WLOX. You can always find the latest news developments on WLOX.com. You see our headline right there. Gulfport Summer Camp pushes his anti-violence message to kids and teens. The city of Gulfport also dealing with gun violence over the last several days. Earlier this week, in fact, over in just a 24-hour period, police responded to 4 different shootings earlier this week. But community members in Gulfport are now stepping up and stepping in to try and help prevent future gun violence. And Noah Noble has this report from this program where community leaders were stepping in to try and help children avoid gun violence in the future. This is Noah Noble reporting.
These kids behind us, if they were not at this camp, where would they be? They'll be the same ones running the streets, because these are the kids that'll be your next shooters if we don't get a hold to them right now.
Strong words coming from State Representative Jeffrey Hullum as he stands in front of the kids who are enrolled in the Youth for Tomorrow summer camp.
We got to reach the kids right here, where they're most impressionable. You got to reach them. If you reach them, you may not be able to save all of them, but you'll save a vast majority of them. And hoping that the vast majority you save, they can save their friends.
They have to have something in the summertime to do, because if they don't, their mind is into doing something that they don't have no business.
For more than 20 years, Janine Casey Handy, or G-Mama as she's known around the community, has dedicated her time to children in hopes that none of them slip through the cracks.
This is what I love. This is what God chosen me to do.
And when she heard about Monday's violence that left 1 teen dead and 4 others facing felonies for a shootout, she had one reaction.
Hurt. When I say hurt, I mean hurt. To where you have to stand before a casket to bury a child of that age, have not even begun to live.
And while she is doing her best to keep them on track, she agrees with the message from Gulfport Police. It begins at home.
Parents got to get the children some help, because it's not like you don't see that your child is in trouble. Because you can tell the way they act when you talking to them, when you telling them something. This is the problem. It's hard. It's really hard. It really is.
So that was Noah Noble reporting there from Gulfport, and you heard her frustration there about this gun violence that has been happening in Gulfport over the last few days. But nevertheless, she's doing her part to step in and trying to make a difference with young people at that camp going on. Also, we just got an update on a breaking news story also out of George County. We've had several breaking news stories happening in the George County community over the last couple of days. Loosedale man who was a bicyclist, he was fatally struck by an SUV and killed in the early morning hours today. He's now been identified by the Mississippi Highway Patrol. You can read more about that story on WLOX.com. Also a story we covered earlier today, the Trent Lott International Airport in Moss Point set to make expansion. You can read more about those plans as well on WLOX.com. And it's never too early to start thinking about the weekend ahead. And anytime you're ready to make plans for the weekend, or anytime really, you can go to GulfCoastWeekend.com. Right here you can find out all the activities, as we've got a big summer weekend ahead. And if you want to make your plans, you just go here to the calendar on GulfCoastWeekend.com. And once the calendar comes in, you put in the date that you're going to go to. This Saturday is June 15th, and a lot's happening, as always, across South Mississippi, including Juneteenth celebrations. You can read more about those there, as well as the annual South Mississippi Summer Fair. It's still going on. It's going to be hot. Just bring some water with you if you're going on to the fair out there. That's, again, you can find more about the activities on GulfCoastWeekend.com. And that's a look at what's happening here across South Mississippi on this Wednesday night. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to always just keep our WLOX digital platforms handy with you, either on the Roku and Fire Stick apps on your smart TV. Of course, we're always playing the national news feed, and whenever there's news developments, we will come on with you here from the WLOX Digital Desk and let you know about what's happening and the stories that are impacting you in your communities. I'm Hugh Keeton here in the WLOX newsroom. We hope you have a great night.